I was surprised. They gave him a 5-year, $226 million maximum extension. He did not come off an MVP caliber season. He did not come off playoff P. He was pandemic P. Jalen, are you surprised by the fact that the Clippers gave him a max extension in this environment after last year?
I'm going to go West Coast and give you some Chuck Taylor and put you up on the game. So a few things happening here. Number one, you don't want to go into a season where your two best players can both opt out after the year, especially after they just lost a 3-1 lead and got bounced out of the bubble. So if you can lock one of those guys up, you do it. Number two, do you know how much they gave up to get Paul George? Do you realize how much they gave up to get Paul George? You can't just allow him to walk after 2 seasons when you're giving up that many picks and that many players. But number 3 is the most important thing I want to point out.
What's up?
Kawhi Leonard's happiness and leverage. If you have Paul George under contract, that may be reason for Kawhi to want to stay, depending on how well or not so well they do in this year's playoffs. And if he doesn't go well and they don't feel like that they're a dynamic duo moving forward, you know what this deal gives the Clippers flexibility to do? Trade a top 15 player while he still has multiple years left on his contract. That's what happens. We just saw a swap with John Wall happening with Russell Westbrook. They both have big cap numbers. That's what happens after you play a year or two of these deals. It gives him the security to know that he's going to get his top dollar, but it gives them the flexibility and the leverage to either keep him or move him.
Jalen, I have a question. They gave Paul George this max extension. Something tells me, and tell me if I'm reading too much into this, they also offered this to Kawhi Leonard. You wouldn't just offer this to George. You would also offer this to Kawhi, and somebody tells me that Kawhi was offered this and politely declined. Am I reading too much into this by saying that maybe Kawhi Leonard is not long for the Clippers?
I think that you should look at it the way you look at Giannis' situation. And you make sure that you acknowledge it really is not going to be a game changer for Giannis to sign the deal this year versus next year. But if you're Paul George and you played the way you played in the bubble, and you struggled in closeout games in Indiana, OKC, and the Clippers, you're not a finals MVP like Kawhi Leonard. You're not a regular season back-to-back MVP like Giannis. You take that bread. You take that bread. And that's exactly what he did.
Well, good for Paul George. Now $226 million richer. Congratulations, Mr. George and Clippers fans. Because let's be honest, the Clippers franchise does not have a long history of winning and having star players on the roster. And they have that now with Paul George for the foreseeable future.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.